What's going on, everybody? Back again for the third video. Third? Fourth? Man, we're really chugging along on these videos, but we are hitting our Faction Wars series today with Skinwalkers. Again, another extremely difficult, not very supported faction from Polarium, I would say. They need a lot of help, but we are going to make do. I'm going to show you some tips today and some sets that you can use on your champions to succeed on a lot of these levels. As you could see, what we started off here with was we were upgrading a piece that we were missing on Steel Skull. So, as always, first I am going to go to the index and we're going to talk about some champions that can definitely help you pull off many of these levels. And then we are going to break apart from the video near the end, and I'm going to show you my level 21 Skinwalker team that beats the boss on auto. Hopefully this comes out to you in time, as I know Skinwalkers comes out later today. But if not, use this video and any of the information that you hopefully retained from it to help out your own teams, build them similar to mine. And as always, you will be able to see my socials down below, including my Discord community that you can join, and you can find all of these builds as well as the team compositions on in order to follow them at your own leisure. So, starting out with the rares, I think there's a couple that are good to mention here. You know, if you had to work on something below level 15 or 16, you could probably get away with a few of these. Bloodhorn is great as a supportive champion. He builds off of HP, and he has a ability to place ally protection, and his passive will throw a continuous heal on any of your champions that are hit with a critical attack. So that can be very helpful for maintaining what can be lacking if you do not have Steel Skull or oh my god, Hackhorn Smash Lord. If you don't have them, or if you don't have Rhine Beast, especially built quickly, you're going to find it very difficult to maintain any kind of sustainability on your team. And that's kind of where Bloodhorn can help you if you're lacking some of those other champions. Two other great champions for this faction. One who's been around for a while, Gnarlhorn, is going to be able to help you out significantly. Honestly, if I had him built up, I would probably use him instead of Warchief, who I'm using now. And that's more just convenience for me. I already have Warchief at 60. I have his Masteries, so I continue to use him. But honestly, compared to Gnarlhorn, he's actually not that great. Gnarlhorn places an unkillable on himself, which is great for survivability if you need to get some heals out there. His damage is going to increase according to how much HP the champion has lost, which can be really good. You know, might make or break the difference in certain waves. But the MVP move that we have here is his War Drum. He's going to place, again, he's going to place a provoke on the enemy team. It does no damage. It does not attack. So as long as you have accuracy, you should have a good chance at landing this, which means you are going to increase the defense of your entire team, and then he is going to place a provoke on the entire enemy team, which is going to allow your team to kind of, again, reset, balance, take control of the fight, and this can be super, super helpful on any Valk wave, Sathalia, anything that you're having trouble with where you can't get by on a wave. This is going to affect that a lot, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. You could put him in a Relentless set or a Reflex set to help that even more. Anything that is going to really prevent him from dying, so, you know, high HP, high defense, and at the same time lower his cooldown, is going to help out Gnarlhorn a lot. The second rare is a little bit newer, a little bit less talked about, Flushmonger. Flushmonger actually has a pretty good kit. He can decrease the defense on all enemies. He increases attack and crit rate, which is going to help you get through the enemies faster. And this gives an extra turn. And you can book it, which is very easy since he's a rare champion, down to 3 turns, which effectively makes this a 2-turn cooldown and will allow you to get back to his Tornado Cleaver even faster. You cannot book the cooldown on his Tornado Cleaver but in conjunction with his A2, it will come around a bit faster. And then, an A1 that has 3 attacks is always good. You can put Giant Slayer on him. Forgive me. You can put Giant Slayer on him, which is going to help you get through the enemies a little bit faster if you have him at 60 and you have him fully mastered. And, overall for a rare, pretty good kit. I would say pretty good kit. So those are 3 champions, the latter 2 being some of the better rares that you can use to get by. I will show you how I have Flushmonger built, how I would build him. I do not have Gnarlhorn and I don't have Bloodhorn built. But if you use them in a provoke set, if you use them in a stun set, if you can't manage either of those and you just build them as defensive as possible with some decent speed, they're probably going to help you out considerably from where you're at now. Now for the epics, it opens up considerably. A lot of these champions are actually pretty good for getting through the levels. And as far as up to 21, I would say Basher, Steel Skull, Ironhide, and Rhinebeast are usually the most prevalent to be used because their kits, again, provide a good amount of survivability or turn meter manipulation, or in the case of Basher, he can block debuffs. He can also prevent cooldowns on the enemy team. So, against like a Valk stage or a Sathalia stage, they can't put up those debuff or they can't put up those buffs that are going to help out their team considerably. Honestly, a really, really good champion. If you have Basher, I would take him to 60. I would build him defensively with high speed and accuracy, and you can use him all the way up to 21. If you are not familiar with his kit, his A1 puts on Weaken. His A2 is kind of like Warlords, where it increases the cooldown of all of the enemy skills. So that's not randomized, which makes that very, very helpful. Just build a little bit of accuracy on him. And then this ability has a little bit more RNG in it, but against like the boss, where it's only one enemy, it has a high chance, 75 to 100%, if you have it booked, of blocking buffs on the enemy. And on the level 21 boss, that is fantastic because as many of you may know that are more into the end game, mid to end game, and you're looking at completing your 21s, that boss has the ability to swap all of the buffs on your champions, debuff any of your champions with what is on him, and then just go about smashing your champions to death. Well, if you have Basher and you block debuffs on that boss, it can't steal any of the buffs from your champions. It will remove the buffs from your champions. However, it will not put those buffs on the boss, making it even more difficult to complete that stage. So that's a really, really good ability to throw in there, along with his A2, which just helps out immensely on the waves. Steel Skull, I would say if you do not have Steel Skull, you're going to have a difficult time in the higher levels. Not impossible, but you're going to have a difficult time. His kit is fantastic. He brings in an increased defense, which heals your entire team. And then his A2 is a bigger heal, 40% of the target ally's health, which can be booked up to 50%, and this can be brought down to a 3-turn cooldown. His A1 also has a low chance, which is a bit unfortunate, but a chance at dropping poison on the boss, which can help out a lot with damage, or in the later stages with the waves, the poison can help out considerably with clearing out those waves faster. And Ironhide has the ability to drop a bunch of turn meter manipulation on the enemy as well as the bosses, which is super, super key when you don't have a lot of damage or sustain. The next best thing you can do is just prevent the enemy from taking their turns. So those are probably the 3 most important epics. However, some honorable mentions: Rhinebeast, if you're able to run 1 or 2 because you do not have Steel Skull, or even if you want to run them alongside Steel Skull, they scale off of defense, which already makes them considerably better than attack-based champions because you can get damage out of them and survivability by building defense on them. And then along with that, anytime they attack, they put a continuous heal on whoever has the lowest HP on your turn. So this can help keep that enemy, or I'm sorry, that ally going for much longer. Along with that, on their A2, if one of your champions does drop, being that this faction does not have a reviver, you can actually use Rhine Beast to revive if he gets the kill with his A2. It does decent damage, however, you do need to have the enemy unit pretty close to death to consistently get the killing blow. He's not hitting hard like a Faceless or a Skull Crown or any number of the very popular high damage champions. So you do want to, swing that in your favor as best as you can by getting the enemy low first. And then finally, I would say the top epic of this group that you can use, or not the top of who I have chosen, but of this group being included in the group. Flesh Terror is an excellent, excellent option. He heals his allies, so again, if you're lacking heals and sustain, this is going to help you out considerably. And it can heal 50% of their max HP, which is massive. And then it also will increase the duration of any buffs that are on your champion. So that can be super helpful if you're trying to extend that increased defense or whatever buffs that you're putting on. Shields, it'll increase shield set values if you use that at the beginning of a wave. Things like that, taking that into consideration, will help you push past the difficulty of a lot of the waves until you get to either the final wave or the boss, whatever level you're on. Along with that, great synergy in his kit. His A3 attacks all enemies. So immediately I think of that being great with like a stun set or a taunt set or a daze set. And then it can decrease the duration of enemy buffs by 1 turn. So if you don't have Basher, as a great example on the last boss, you can use this to take those buffs off of the boss, kind of passively, if you will, doing some damage and reducing the duration of those buffs all at once. So that can be something that's very useful. As far as the legendaries, pretty much all of these legendaries are actually very, very useful in this faction. I don't have Coronar, so unfortunately I can't showcase him, but he is insane. If you have him, congratulations. He's an amazing champion. He'll help with turn meter manipulation. He's super tanky. If you put him in a taunt set, I mean, he can just carry your entire faction. He is a really, really good champion. And if you're lacking on damage, Brachus is easily the best damage dealer in this faction. I can't really think of anyone that could compete with him. Whether you have him masteried with Helm Smasher or Giant Slayer, he's going to chunk all of the enemies, the boss. The only downside is that his survivability is pretty low. So what you want to do is you either want to build him fast with a ton of damage, or you want to find a good middle ground with lifesteal gear in order to synergize with his passive, Beast Mode, which will change some of the damage he does into lifesteal, and that will just compound with the lifesteal gear that you put on him. I personally chose to put him in high damage gear, and I get a majority of his sustain through that, just using his passive along with the amount of damage that he does to heal up. And then Warchief, his whole kit is pretty good for locking down a single enemy, but he doesn't do well on the waves at all. And honestly, against the boss, his damage is so low. I would say if you have Gnarlhorn, build Gnarlhorn over Warchief. The only benefit that you get from Warchief is he's tanky as hell. He's not going to die easily, and he'll honestly probably be the last person on your team to die if that was to happen. But his kit can be pretty good. He can steal all the buffs from the enemy and provoke them for 3 turns. You can even get this cooled down to 3 turns, which can be pretty good. So you can, if you really wanted to, say, provoke 1 Sathalia, or 1 Valkyrie, or 1 damage dealer like Turvold on the enemy faction team, you could keep them permanently locked down as long as you have enough accuracy to land this, and they'll never have any buffs on them. Whenever you attack them with this, he's going to remove their buffs, so that's pretty amazing. And then that just makes him better because any buffs that they had, he's going to steal. His A1 has a low chance to provoke. I would pair this up with what is the mastery? I would pair this up on the defensive tree. Let's look at mine right now because this is pretty much the last one I'm going to go over. Hackthorn Smashmouth, if Smash Lord, if you have him, his A2 is phenomenal. I would not, or I would be very wary about using him on auto because of his A3. It will kill him. Um, Longbeard can be great for the allied attack, and he provides more damage to anyone that is on his team. And then Norog is great. I don't have him, but he has the ability to block debuffs. He prevents a lot of damage on your team. He personally is immune to stun, freeze, and sleep. Not true fear, so keep that in mind. You will want to build some resist on him. And then his passive does not work, but you can still build him defensively, and through pretty much his entire kit, he's going to help your team. So let's go to my champions that I have built. And let's move it by faction. And the first one that we are going to go over is my Brachus. So my Brachus is mostly just built for damage. I'm mostly going to showcase their masteries here because I want you guys to have a good idea on how to build them for the faction. When I say build damage, that should be pretty obvious. You want to get some good attack, or if they're defense based, you want good defense. And as far as their crit, you always want it to be at 100%, unless for whatever reason you just cannot get their crit to 100 while maintaining the rest of their stats. And then you want their crit damage as high as you can get it. If you want to land Brachus's Fear on the enemy, you can put him in an accuracy banner. You can find some accuracy on the other stats you have in your items. However, it's not necessary, and you could just as easily give him a defensive amulet or an attack amulet for even more damage, a HP amulet if you find he's just too squishy, or you could put him in a resistance banner as well. I keep saying amulet, but I mean banner. You could put him in a resistance banner as well to kind of prevent him from getting true feared or debuffed by the enemy waves, things like that. So as far as his masteries, I have taken Helm Smasher on him. I personally like it more, but I did run him in Giant Slayer, and there wasn't a significant difference. So if you're running Savage Gear, for example, you probably want to run Helm Smasher, so you just get that much more armor piercing. You're ignoring 75% defense or something like that, right? 50% chance of 25% on here, and then I think another 25% from Savage. So 50% from Savage, and then Helm Smasher. And then with Giant Slayer, you just have a chance at doing a chunk of the boss's health on each of his hits. The reason why there can be an argument made in either way is, if you were to hit Giant Slayer on all 6 hits of his Full Moon Rampage, that could do a ton of damage. So those are your options for him. With Warchief, I have him built with Fearsome Presence. That's right. So Fearsome Presence is going to give him just that much better of a chance to land his taunt. It will, I would say, take the same ability on anyone that you have in like a stun set or provoke set or some sort of CC ability that you're using that you want to maintain control on your side of the field. Taking Fearsome Presence on a defensive champion is a great way to do that, especially if they only have like one ability or even 2 abilities that are one hitters. It's not going to make or break the amount of damage you do on a boss. So taking something that gives you more CC could make the difference in whether you clear a wave or not. So keep that in mind. And then for Hackhorn Smashlord, I would say build him with high HP. All right, I have him in immunity, but I built him before with Immortal Gear, and he was at 75 to 80,000 health. His defense isn't significantly important because the majority of his kit, the benefit that you get out of his kit, is using his Rallying Bellow, which is going to heal your team by this champion's health. So again, the more health you have on Hackhorn, the more health that your team is going to heal by. So that's extremely important. And then Blood Offering is the ability I was talking about that's going to kill Smashlord. So, again, this faction is basically denied by a Reviver besides Rhinebeast. So if you want to take the chance, or if you have really good healing on your team, or if you do not have really good healing on your team, I would not put this on auto. But if you're running like Steel Skull and you're running Smash Lord and maybe a Rhine Beast, you could probably get away with running, whatever level you're on auto because of the additional healing he'll get once he uses Blood Offering. But it can be, that one ability that ruins your run. So I would be aware of that. And then again, I have him in kind of the same thing. He's doing more healing here through the accuracy tree, and then he just has a little bit more survivability and a faster chance with Cycle of Revenge to get his turn back. So those are some good things that work for me on Hackhorn Smash Lord. You could probably take the same idea and manifest it on your own to some success. Now for Basher, the only thing I cared about was speed. I wanted him over 200 speed. I wanted him to have good accuracy so he lands his debuffs. And then I just want him survivable. Honestly, I don't care about his damage at all. If this was 0, it wouldn't matter as long as he has enough HP and defense to survive. That's what's most important because you're using him to go quickly and to constantly break down those waves so that you have full control over what you want to do. For his masteries, I have him in accuracy just to make sure that he has more accuracy. I have him with Sniper to make sure that he hits those abilities more often. And then I have him with some abilities that give him more accuracy, give him longer duration on his debuffs, and then just as much damage as I can get out of him for what he has. But you could just as easily go the defensive tree here. Pushing along to Steel Skull. Alright, so Steel Skull I have built a little bit differently. For a while, I had him in lifesteal gear because I wanted him to survive a lot of the later waves. Once you get past, wave 15, the content becomes much more difficult, and you got to start worrying about how your champions are going to survive these rounds. And lifesteal, I thought was a great way for Steel Skull to stay alive, but honestly, he does no damage. His damage is just complete trash. So what I decided to do is I put him in Relentless, and it's only an 18% to proc, right? I don't have him in anything that's going to improve that. I still have War Master on him, so he does some damage to the bosses, and I have him in, accuracy. Very, very standard damage build with an accuracy subset. But I have found that when he's proccing Relentless, he's getting those rotations back for his heals, and my survivability has gone up significantly. I went from, maybe a 40 to 50%, and I might be generous here. I might be being generous with my win rate with 40 or 50%. But once I put him in Relentless gear, that small amount of RNG has made my auto runs on 21 consistently above 90% for sure. Unless I turn away and Smash Lord has killed himself or done something stupid, my win rate has been at least 90% or higher running this team. And again, you will see the team at the end of the video. As always, I will show you the live run. Well, I guess maybe not live, but the recorded run of my full auto team going through Skinwalker 21, so you'll be able to see them in action. And then some honorable mentions just to show how I would have built. I put Rhine Beast in a Frost set. He doesn't really do much, so as far as CC, putting him in a Taunt, Daze, or just, maybe a Speed set would be good if you had a really, really fast defensive set. 3 to 4,000 plus defense with maybe 260 plus speed, but for most people that's not obtainable. Now, I will say, when I first 3-starred Skinwalkers, I did use this Rhine Beast. So I used him in a Frost set. That helped me with locking down some of the enemy champions, especially the AoE champions, because they had that chance at freezing themselves. And it was completely doable with him at level 50. I did have to manual it a lot. It was very tedious. I don't have any masteries on him. For his skills, I don't have any skills done. So it was slow, but it was doable. And mostly that's because of his kit combined with Steel Skull and some of the other kits. But I would say he's pretty difficult. If you have him at 60, that could change a lot. He becomes more defensive. depending on how you build him or what gear you want to put on him, could definitely make a drastic change there. And then lastly, we have Flushmonger. So Flushmonger, I would probably throw in a stun set with accuracy. Not going to go over him too much because we went over him in the index, but the main difference that I would do here is I would make him considerably faster. So you can see my Flushmonger. He's just built for show right now, not for use. His speed is way, way too low. I would put his base speed is bad, but he's also not maxed out at 60, right? So I would put him at, I would try and probably get him around 200 speed. If I was you, if you had him at 60, at 50, his base stats are way too low. I wouldn't say he's worth it, but if you have the food to bring him to 60, or if you have a lack of champions, get him to 60 if you need a 5th champion, and he would be a great spot to fill that in. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it, girls. From here, we're going to go into the rest of the video and, enjoy. I hope you learned something here, as always. And again, you can find the link to my Discord down below where you can ask me questions, and you can find all of these builds and the teams that I run them with in my Discord there in the Faction War section. So thank you as always, and we'll see you next time in the next video. Cali GG, out.
I'm getting closer and closer.